Today, we're going to go over a brand new defensive formation that EA patched in the October title update. This is known as the 3-3-5 penny 3-high defense. And I've gotten a number of you that have reached out to me via DM or email asking if I was going to do content around this. So I want to do an overview on this, everything you need to know about this formation, and we'll make a final verdict on whether or not this is comp viable or at the bare minimum usable in some capacity in Madden 26. So make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel, hit that notification bell, grab out your pen and pad. Let's get after it. Now, this defense, as we start off, is going to be found in exclusively the Arizona Cardinals defensive playbook. This was patched into the game last month, and you'll notice that this defense has no slot corners involved in it. We'll get into some tricks with this formation that you can use to kind of present slot corners here momentarily, but let's break down the overall personnel groups here for this. Let's start off here with the defensive front as a whole. So when we go up front in this defense, you're going to notice that we will be utilizing defensive tackles in this at the 3 interior rush positions. You'll see here that we have Leonard Williams D tackle, the Fridge D tackle, and then you're going to have another hard-coded defensive tackle. When you guys take a look at the players that you could sub at these spots, you see here that on the outside defensive tackles, we have the ability to put D tackle or left edge or right edge type players. You take a look over here, you see the exact same possibilities. And here on the nose, however, you are not allowed to put anything other than a defensive tackle. So if you guys were wanting to soup up the speed of this defensive front, please note you are locked into at least one true defensive tackle with this personnel group. Now, as it pertains your edge rushers, of course, those are going to be edges, but if you take a look, it will also allow you to sub in a defensive tackle at this spot, as well as Sams and Wills. So you have the ability to play left edge, right edge, defensive tackle, Sam or Will. It does not allow you the ability to put a Mike linebacker in the game at that spot. You see that I've got plenty of Mike linebackers on my team. I did not have any available at either of those edge spots. So these players can be changed to be a number of different types of players based off of what your opponent's tendencies are. I very rarely would find it useful to put in defensive tackles at this spot, but maybe if your opponent's running the ball pretty heavy and you just want to have 5 across that are just mammoths, that might be something that appeals to you. Not necessarily for me. So for me, my recommendation would probably be in this defense to put more of a Sam or a Will at those edge positions. The reason for this is that you're going to have the ability to drop those players into coverage. They're going to be playing, vertical hooks, curl flats, hard flats, maybe sometimes having matching responsibilities. So you're not really going to want to utilize edge rushers in this because when we actually do rush those guys, we're going to be hoping that they're coming in free. So I think that pass rush on the edge is more of a secondary trait. You're going to need players that can shed and cover in basically the pass and the run game rather than being an influence on the passer as a rusher. Now let's get to the inside linebacker on this. This is one of those topics that can be really, really tough. A lot of people like to put safeties at linebacker. This is a hard-coded linebacker position. Now, from a MUT perspective, if you want to go into the main depth chart on your MUT team, you actually can sub in safeties at Mike. That would be the only way around it. So if you guys, for whatever reason, have a depleted roster, you're just starting off, this is something you're interested in, you might be able to go into the main MUT menu on your depth chart and plug in a free safety, or I think a strong safety is actually the position you could plug in at middle linebacker. That would allow you to glitch a safety to this spot, but for all intents and purposes, you are looking at a true Mike linebacker at this spot, so make sure that you have a good one. Now let's talk about the back end of this coverage. This is going to be a defense that very clearly has no slot corners. I've already mentioned this. We have an outside corner here, and if we take a look at the other side of the defense, we have an outside corner here, but then up top, we have what are basically 3 safeties. Now, here is the caveat to this. I did mention we don't have a slot corner, but this particular position right here is a slot corner. So you'll notice here that if I were to go from the penny 3 high into the regular penny, you see that you're going to have basically a player kind of move down. The regular penny does use, for what it's worth, I believe, safety at corner. But in the penny 3 high, rather than having 3 true safeties, it's 2 safeties in 1 slot. If this is something that you don't like, You could obviously change this. So for me on my Bears theme team, I've got the crystal items. I would put Minka Fitzpatrick at this spot. So that way I could have Fitzpatrick, Bates, and then also Kirby Joseph on my team for this. And this actually doesn't impede your ability to audible when you actually break the huddle. So if I wanted to go from the 3 high look into the regular penny look, that will kick one of my players down into a slot roll, which is totally fine. So that is a way that you can get a slot corner in this. Kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. Let's get into kind of in general what we have from a coverage perspective. Now, again, if you guys are enjoying the video, make sure that you guys do hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. This channel has so much content that is designed to help you guys out with the game. If you guys struggle with defending certain metas, I've got content all over the place since launch that will help you guys out. We have a heavy coverage focus. That is one of the main reasons and motivations for doing this video, because we're going to be breaking down the coverages here momentarily. But also make sure you guys open up a tab and head over to my strategy website, gridirongameplans.gg. I'm doing some of my best work of the season over there on Gridiron right now. You guys can take a look at our vault with over 125 individual pieces of content since launch, all offensive and defensive game plans included at no additional cost, members only Discord access, live lab sessions each and every week taking your questions about the game inside the Discord, and those are archived on the website for you to go back and watch at a later date if you're unable to attend live. So make sure you guys go check it out. Best deal in the tip space. All right, so let's get into what we are here for. What about the coverage out of this? This is a 3 high defense. It has no slot corners. Do we have any type of utility from a coverage perspective? And I'm going to tell you that I think this is an interesting formation, but there are going to be some pros and cons, obviously. We take a look at the actual coverages we can call. Tampa 2, cover 3 sky. Those are pretty much universal across the board. Cover 4 drop. So we got a stock cover 4 drop. That's really nice to have. We have a cover 2 roll, which is a different version of a cover 2 defense. If we were to go back to the first page, you see the Tampa 2, the right of the 3 safeties is in the half, whereas the middle is in the mid read and the left is in the outside half on that side. If we were to compare that to the cover 2 roll, you're going to see the safety on the right side roll down, the middle safety rolls over the top of him, and still we have that backside player that is basically your half over the top. We also have a zone pressure, Mike Sim 2. We'll get into pressures out of this formation momentarily as well, but you have a stock blitz set up here. When we take a look at some other plays here, we have an edge blitz 2. Actually, this was a really good blitz that I used in my 3-3-5 3 high odd, which was a game plan that I put on Gridiron from college football at launch. I love that blitz. So make sure if you guys like that blitz, go check out the college football side of my website as well. We also have some matching stuff, a little cover 6. So that's going to kind of trend towards some positivity in the cover 4, cover 6, cover 9 realm, which is nice. We have a zone blitz match 3. We also have the double buzz meta. I absolutely adore the double buzz meta. One of my favorite types of coverage to call, certainly in college football. And this is because you don't have slot corners in this defense. So having those safeties, those corner safeties being able to go underneath is going to be so pivotal. I'll give you guys some coverage shells in this video that I think you're going to appreciate. We'll take a look at some modifications to this play, as well as the 3 double cloud, which I think is another really awesome defense. We talk about one of my favorite all-time defenses in Madden history, the inverted cover 3. One of the biggest issues is that we had to put the middle linebacker into a middle third, and he would backpedal so slow. You take a look at the 3 double cloud, however, it's set up very, very well for you. And the fact is that we have all 3 safeties playing thirds, and then we have basically a 5 underneath coverage, which is great. You could get pressure rushing 3 in this game. Really interesting here. Now, one thing that we do truly lack, however, is a full field match coverage. And like I mentioned, this is the downside to not having slot corners. It's really, really hard to get some of the versatility of getting a cover 6 or a cover 9 or a full quarters or palms. But the good news is, and I kind of already showed this to you, we also have the regular penny in this playbook, which does have quarters. It does have, you know, cover 3 match, palms. It has cover 6, cover 9. So my recommendation, if you're going to run the penny 3 high, is to give yourself all those coverages that you do not have in the regular penny. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll go palms. Let's go with a little cover 6. Let's go with a little cover 9 action here. So while we don't have those in this defense, let's say our opponent presents us something on the fly. We want to get into, oh, I want to run quarters against this. Well, we can simply audible over into quarters. We have that safety roll down. We're now good we're in an awesome spot. Okay, so from a match standpoint, while we don't have the match coverage plays, we have the match coverage plays. It's just on the next page over in your Audible menu, as long as you set them correctly. So again, make sure your 335 penny has the matching plays that we do not have in the 3 high version of this, and you'll be right in business with getting those match coverage calls correct. Okay, now let's get into some potential coverage shells that I would recommend out of this. Now, I've already talked about why I like 3 double clap. One of my absolute favorite things about this defense is that we are so ready to roll with this. I mean, it is really, really good. Okay. Not a whole lot you have to do with this. This is one of those really great kind of bend but don't break style defenses. It's really hard to throw corner routes against this because you have a cloud flat and you have an outside third over the top. It's really, really hard to attack the seams against this defense as well, because you have safeties that are up top on both sides playing thirds. You also have a middle third. And if there's one modification that you can make to this, it would be to go to your edge rushers and put them into vertical hooks. Now, if you guys want to make it so your defensive linemen aren't impacted by crashing, meaning your edge rushers aren't impacted by crashing, all you have to do is go into your packages and flick the right analog stick to the left one time. You're going to see a package that's called linebacker edge. Just make sure that you put the players that you want at these spots before you do this. Otherwise, it might sub in players that you don't want on the field. So for the purpose of this, I'll put Hippolyte and Greenlaw at edge because I'm going to put them in coverage. And then again, just for me, I'm going to make sure that I have, you know, my best pass rushers. I don't like Kenny Clark on my field, so I'll put Khalil Mack here. So now when you guys come out, you're going to notice that let's just base out a 3 double cloud here. If I crash the defensive line down, it doesn't actually make my edge players that are in those curl zones you know, blitz. You'll also notice that my linebacker now walks out further over the slot receiver, which is nice. If you ever want to bring him back in, all you have to do is show blitz. To do that is hit right on the D-pad and then right bumper. That will give you a kind of a cool look here. Or you could just manually pull him inside, which is totally fine too. So you've got this as potential. Now going into what I would recommend for this coverage, I would actually change those yellow curl zones into vertical hooks. I think that vertical hooks play really, really well in this game. The curl zones don't have any matching principles. One of my absolute favorite things that you guys could do is immediately play some matching behavior. You'll see here that if I were to run like a drive combo, for instance, a lot of times you'll get matching. You see how that vertical hook took the tight end post down the field, which is cool. Because this allows us to then get kind of greedy and maybe, you know, change our overall, you know, shell. Maybe in a certain case, I set up a defense like this, and then I want to man up the running back and turn this into like a straight up cover 2. That is something you could totally do here with this. And then you'll see that when we run this call, you'll end up with some matching behavior. And you see now we're matching a drag. You know, you can get real hybrid with this. I teach all of this type of stuff on Gridiron in my match coverage game plan. So I'm not going to go too crazy into the overall hybrid coverage shells, but I do just want to say that in general, this is a great base defense. You can always shade it down and then just recloud your corners, and this will treat you really, really well. Really solid defense. Really good at stopping checkdowns. A lot of people that like to throw drags and, you know, run corner routes, and they want to throw those, you know, little running back routes in the middle of the field, you know, backside digs. This is going to be a really challenging defense for that meta. So you see like those underneath throws. I mean, look at Khalil Mack right up the middle there on that play, but really, really good here for this. Another thing that you guys could do outside of the match realm in this defense is the 3 double buzz. I like this defense a fair amount because it gets the safeties really, really active. So what you could do is shade the defense down to get those safeties coming from high to low and taking away those drags. And then my recommendation would be to probably put your linebackers back into those purples. And then you're just kind of in the middle of the field with this. And again, you're gonna see a very similar thing here when you're dealing with, you know, let's say like you know, Texas routes or whip patterns or just what have you. You're going to see just how good this type of defense is going to be. You see those shaded down zones, you could kind of bracket those. It's really hard to throw, you know, those quick in-breaking routes, you know, the whips and the returns and the drags and the Texas. I mean, it's really good at taking away those types of throws, despite not having a slot corner. But again, just in the back of your mind, always remember that when in doubt, if you need a slot corner, you can always get one by checking into, you know, a correct defense. Now, one thing I do want to leave you guys with here when we talk about the actual audibling from the 3 high penny into the regular penny is that if you do sub in Sams and Wills at these spots, this will prohibit you from actually audibling out, because the game wants you to have 5 edges and D tackles on your line. So you see, now that I put those guys back in the game, it is going to allow me now to get into that quarter. So if you're really heavy on getting that slot corner down pretty frequently, you guys will need to heed this advice. Now, if you're not, there is one other way that you can at least present a slot corner. It might not be your favorite thing in the world to do, but if you guys go ahead and hit Y and then right bumper, this will walk your safeties down into a slot roll. Would this be the right coverage to do this out of? Certainly not, because you don't want your safeties in a deep zone in this regard. But if we were playing, like, for instance, the double buzz defense where the safeties were in the hooks, that would make a lot more sense. So you can always modify, of course, and also make sure that you guys are labbing your packages, because you see right here, this isn't really a hurtful defense. You know, again, you could put those regular linebackers back in the game, or the safeties at linebacker on your depth chart. So that way, instead of Crosby, you could have like a shapeshifter or Dawkins or whoever, right? Strong. It has to be a strong safety, I believe, but you could get around not having to deal with audibling to get slot corners. You could just do the show blitz feature, which is going to move these guys down. And again, this is going to be really, really nice because you could still put these guys into, you know, some pretty cool assignments to, you know, create matching principles. So one of my favorite things, as I've already discussed, is that vertical hook. If we pair that with a seam flat, now all of a sudden we're going to have some really cool matching on the right side. So if I were to have McBride run a corner route, you'll see, like, you see how Minka Fitzpatrick matches him into the sideline. So again, a lot of this stuff, if you're like, oh, that was cool, make sure you guys go to Gridiron. I teach that in our match game plan. But this is pretty cool from a coverage perspective. Now, I know this video is getting rather long here. I do want to just kind of show you guys a recommendation for pressure purposes. It's not a really hard defense to get pressure out of. I think it's wonderful that you could basically, with this defense, just crash inside and let these guys get one-on-ones. I mean, right there, I'm telling you, my X factor on Mac is just blitz. He has no pass rushing, you know, OP pass rushing thing that he's got. He's literally just got, you know, double or nothing. And this defense sheds rushing 3, but what you can do out of it is try to get some pretty decent A gap loop. If you blitz Roquan Smith here, you'll see that you can get him to try to loop into the opposite A gap. Now, is it a guarantee? No, but it's going to free up your nose tackle one-on-one. And if you have the fridge or somebody really good there, that's helpful. You could also blitz Roquan and crash the other direction, and he'll A-gap loop into the right A-gap. You see that he almost came in free there. So from a perspective of like, how does this defense get pressure? You can really just like get pressure with 3, but you could also just send this linebacker and sometimes get him to loop sending 4. You see right there in this particular setup, if you pinch and crash down, it gets in more of an edge loop style rush. I'm probably not a huge fan of the pinch and crash down blitzing 4. If you pinch and crash down blitzing 3, it will isolate your nose tackle one-on-one, which is good. But if you just crash down normally, your right guard, or I'm sorry, your right edge will go one-on-one, which you see there with Mac. And then if you wanted to, you know, try to isolate your left guy one-on-one, you see that that's a little bit more challenging, obviously. So, you know, if you really want your left edge player to be someone that could get through a double team, you know, that's going to be a little bit tougher. If you blitz the edge player on the left, this will isolate Williams to be able to go one-on-one with the guard, which will be super helpful. But just be advised that that's a little bit more of a, you know, a challenge. But again, I think that you could still get some solid value out of, you know, this like a gap loop right here. You see right there how easy that is to get pressure, sending only 4. Again, all I'm doing for that is crashing left on the D line and then just moving this guy in a blitz angle to the, you know, the right side. And then look at that. Even when it doesn't come in or it gets picked up, you're still isolating one-on-one on the right edge, which is going to really help you guys out. So I think this is enough to get you guys off on the right path. Check out the Arizona Cardinals defense. This is not necessarily something I'm going to go to. I tend to run a lot more 4-down lineman stuff, but I've gotten a lot of you that are interested in this new defense and whether or not to see it's something worth using. I think that you could, for what it's worth, apply my nickel over teachings in my Miami defensive game plan on the website into the 2-4. You could definitely do my regular load mug out of the 2-4 load mug. Double mug is useful out of anything. So make sure you guys go check that out. It also has a 1-4, 2-3 single mug, and a regular 2-3. So you got a lot of stuff here that is pretty useful. 6-1, interesting playbook. It's probably worth taking a look at, to be honest with you. But I hope you guys enjoyed it here free on the channel. I'll yak at y'all tomorrow. Until then, this is Zan. Get in the lab and good luck.